All right. We are recording and it is 8:03, so I will start. Welcome back, guys. Welcome to our physician panel slated for October 13th, 2020. We have some great speakers to come speak with you guys. Before we get into that, I do have just some housekeeping stuff, general announcements, just to reiterate what's been happening. Let me get to the next slide. Okay, so our old president, Nick Barra, from 2 years ago, is selling his set of Kaplan books, 2019-2020. It's a first come, first serve, so whoever emails me first, I have the time. So whoever emails me first, I'll connect you with him and you'll get those books. So I guess email as fast as you can. I couldn't really think of a better way to do that with being fair. Also, the Princeton Review is doing Mcat week currently. So this whole week they're offering free review sessions on physics, OChem, all that different stuff. Even if you're not available for the times that the sessions are happening, they're recorded. So it's super easy to make an account and then you can review those when you would like to. Chords as well for graduating seniors, whether you're graduating in this winter semester or in April. We're selling chords. They're $5. Reminder that payment and order forms are due this Friday. The form and the Venmo are there. If you do not give us the payment and the form, we will not be ordering your cord. So please let us know if there's an accentuating circumstance and you cannot get that money to us by Friday. Just communicate with us. Same with the crew neck orders. Those two on the right, the white and the light blue, they are $35, $38 for 2X and 3X. Payment also due Friday. Again, if it's a money issue, just let us know. We'll be totally able to work around you with that. Just communicate with us, please, and thank you. Same thing, we have office hours every Friday with Dr. Donovan Roy. I had a couple students who went last Friday and it was a great experience. They got some great advice. Please feel free to, Please feel free to communicate and sign up. It's a great resource to have, talk about personal statements, how to prepare, stuff like that. He is also in this chat, so I'm not sure if he's available to say a quick word and maybe introduce himself so you guys can put a face to the name.
Hi. Hi, yes, I'm Dr. Franklin Rocha. I'm one of the resident physicians. I am currently a resident at Jackson Memorial Hospital, Miami, in neurology, and I was just leaving my email there.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, feel free to leave emails, all that stuff. Those are all resources to you as well. Also, the old t-shirts are at the top. Those are $5. So if you cannot purchase a crew neck, or if you would like an old t-shirt, let us know. We have a couple sizes. Sizes are getting limited just because we've been selling them. So please just let us know and we can connect you with that as well.
So, Gabrielle, how you doing? I'm here.
Oh, hi, perfect. Hi, Donovan.
How you doing? I'm sorry, I was trying to turn my camera on.
It's okay, it's okay. I knew it was probably a technical issue.
Yeah, so thank you. I'm really excited to be, collaborating with the group. I'm really excited to be able to support you through your journey on becoming a medical student, and also too as you embark on your journey as a resident and a physician. I'm here to support you. This is the 4th medical school that I've worked at. I previously worked at the University of Nebraska Medical Center, David Geffen School of Medicine at UCLA, and then my previous 5 years I've been at the Keck School of Medicine at the University of Southern California. Go Trojans! So I'm really excited to be supporting you guys, and any questions that you guys need, please sign up through that Google Doc that Gabrielle has shared with the group. And like I said, I'm really looking forward to supporting you guys and, really helping you make that transition into medical school. And hopefully we'll see you guys at WMed. So looking forward to this panel. And I want to thank everybody for participating and, supporting this group. So thank you very much, Gabrielle. And I'm going to pass it back to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Donovan. So that is all my housekeeping stuff, I believe. Let me double check. Yep, so we still have that slide about staying active during COVID opportunities right now. Unfortunately, we don't have any new ones to add to the slide this week. We're always looking, but those are always opportunities for you all as well. Let me admit whoever just popped in. Perfect. And I will stop sharing, and perfect. Okay. So I think what we're going to do from here is just kind of do a quick intro of everybody who is on the panel. And then from there, we can kind of open up for questions. And I have some baseline questions that we're going to start with as well. So I'm not sure who we want to start with. I'll just pick somebody so we're not just all talking over each other. Dr. Robinson, do you mind starting? You're the first one on my screen.
There we go. Good evening. Excuse the non-professional look. I've worked all day and stuck in a hotel room in Big Rapids because I work at 8 in the morning. So it didn't make sense for me to drive home after this meeting to get up at 5 in the morning. So I'm in my relaxation mode. So I'm Dawn Robinson. I hail from Denver, Colorado. I went to undergrad at the University of Colorado, med school, University of Cincinnati, and residency here in Michigan at Beaumont in Royal Oak when it wasn't as big as a hospital system. And since then, I've worked in 2 countries, 3 states, 5 cities, and now I'm in Big Rapids. Glad to be a part of Spectrum Health. I was at Borges in Kalamazoo for 8 years, so I am familiar. I was a faculty member of WMed and interviewed the residents and the med students and worked closely with Cheryl, Dr. Dixon, with some of the things she had going on in the community. So that's my story.
Perfect. We'll just go, whoever turns on their mic first, we'll just kind of leave it open, free for all, I guess.
I thought we were going in order, but I can go next if you want.
Yeah, I think the orders are different across the screen, so I'm kind of weary to do that.
So my name is Emma Simmons. I am the Senior Associate Dean for Student Affairs at UC Riverside School of Medicine. I am originally from Mississippi. I did all of my training in medical school at Brown University, and I stayed there for almost 25 years before moving to UCR. I was the assistant dean for diversity at Brown University before I came out to UC Riverside School of Medicine. I am a family doctor. I do practice medicine in our local safety net hospital for 30% of my time. And the rest of the time I'm an administrator. And I am the mother of 2 and the wife of 1.
I'll start it off for our USC crew. Hi, everybody. Good to see you all. My name is Stephanie Zia. I am the Assistant Dean for Student Affairs over at Keck School of Medicine of USC, so it's great to see your face, Donovan. I am born, raised, bred, and grew up in Los Angeles, so I have not left the area. I went to USC for undergrad. I went to USC for med school. I stayed at USC for residency. I trained in combined internal medicine and pediatrics, also known as med-peds, and I am currently a hospitalist for both the internal medicine and the pediatric services over at our county hospital. In addition to that, I'm our assistant dean for student affairs, so right now we're in the thick of getting our 4th-year students ready for residency applications.
All right. My name is, I think I introduced myself earlier, but I didn't give too many details of myself. So my name is Franklin Rocha Cabrero. I'm a 4th year, last year resident of neurology at University of Miami, Jackson Memorial Hospital. I'm also, I come from Puerto Rico. That's where I did my undergrad in University of Puerto Rico. And then I did my medical school at University of Illinois, the Urbana-Rockford track. I'm also like, I've been part of some of leadership positions in organized medicine in the American Medical Association, the Florida Medical Association, which is a state society. And also I've been kind of very active in the advocacy policy in other organizations like the National Hispanic Medical Association. So if anybody has like questions about like leadership and that in medical school and undergrad, you know, I would take questions for that too. So feel free to ask any questions.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Can I speak now?
Go for it. Perfect.
Well, I came on a little bit late, so forgive me. I hope you forgive me.
Okay.
My name is Rodney Mckeever. I'm also at USC with my buddy Stephanie Zia. I used to work with Donovan when he was here, talking with the residents and students quite a bit. I'm originally from the Midwest. Myself, I'm from Chicago, but I've been in California, I guess, more so than I was raised in Chicago. But I'm in the Department of Anesthesiology. I'm a clinical assistant professor of anesthesiology and critical care medicine here at USC. I did my training at SIU, Carbondale Springfield, which is downstate Illinois, and did my residency out here at King Drew Medical Center in Los Angeles and fellowships at UC Irvine in critical care, postdoc in clinical pharmacology at UCLA, and a transfusion medicine fellowship at UCLA. And I've been working at USC since 2007. I'm also on a few committees with my friend Stephanie. I'm on the medical education committee and some other administrative committees. And I also serve as the associate OR director for the operating room anesthesia at LA County USC, which is one of the largest medical centers west of Mississippi. So that's what I do. And I'm looking forward to participating tonight and giving whatever input and advice that I can. And also, I want to get to know Emma Simmons because she's a next door neighbor. I live in Loma Linda, so I got to hook up with her and talk to Miss Simmons over at UCR.
All right, I guess I'll go. I feel like I am connected to all of you in some way. I am a Midwesterner. My name is Emily Rose by birth, but I guess I've been in California longer than I was in the Midwest. But I grew up in South Dakota. And then I went to undergrad and I went to seminary before medical school, and all in Massachusetts. And then I went to medical school back in South Dakota for in-state tuition. I applied to one medical school. It was very prudent, financially prudent. And then I did my residency training in emergency medicine at LA County, USC, which I absolutely fell in love with emergency medicine and the program there. I never thought I'd stay in Southern California, but I loved it. Went on to do a fellowship at Loma Linda in pediatric emergency medicine. See, it's all coming together, right? We're all connected. And then I've been faculty at LA County in the ED. I do half my shifts in the peds ED and half my shifts in the adult ED. And then I'm also, I teach several undergrad classes as well at USC, and we have a minor in healthcare studies through Keck at the undergrad, which is a lot of fun. So I do a little bit of that and a little bit of this, and it's a lot of fun. And I am, I love, was it Emma that said she's the spouse of one? And I've got 3 kids. I've got twins plus a surprise because God has a sense of humor, but it's really fun. Got 3 girls that I'm homeschooling. Unfortunately, LA schools are still at home right now, so that's been character building as well.
Dr. Dixon, would you like to speak?
Sure, I was waiting, I didn't know. So hi everyone.
Okay, you're okay.
So hi everyone, I'm Cheryl Dixon. I'm here in Kalamazoo, Michigan. I work with Donovan, so happy that Donovan is here. I am the Associate Dean for Health Equity and Community Affairs at the medical school. Our medical school is one of the newer ones in Michigan. I've been here since it started. I am a pediatrician, associate professor in pediatrics here. So I teach in the residency program. I also I was in charge, the course director for the Profession of Medicine course, clinical skills and art of doctoring and service learning, which is called active citizenship. I'm still the course director for active citizenship, and I do the thread for cultural humility as well as social determinants of health. And I have all the students in a lot of service learning organizations, and I have a lot of fun doing a lot of different things. Also a lot of diversity stuff. I went to undergrad at Brown University, so somebody else was Brown, and I did my residency training in New Jersey. I'm from New Jersey. Now that I've said it, you could probably hear it in my accent, but never thought I'd leave New Jersey, but I've come here and I enjoy it. been here now 6 years. But other than that, I've been in New Jersey. Most of my training, where I was born, near Newark, New Jersey, and worked in the hospital at the Children's Hospital of New Jersey in Newark for many years. And really have also always stayed in academic medicine and mentoring students, so.
Awesome. I think we got everybody. Did I miss anybody? Just want to make sure. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you all for being here today. I do have a couple facilitated questions, and then we'll open the floor. So if anyone has a specific question for a specific position, you will be able to ask that as well. So my first question that I would like to ask, I know speaking, I think we can all kind of get that connection of speaking to you guys is it's very hard sometimes to see that gap from being undergrad going up to physician and how you got there in that path. If you could go back and tell yourself anything in undergrad, what would you say?
Don't give up. Don't get discouraged. Even if you got a D in organic chemistry, life goes on. A few years back, it just came up, and I told my kids, I said, Mommy had to do a 5th year. I took organic chemistry, dance, and first aid so I could focus solely on organic chemistry. My GPA was a 3.5. It wasn't fabulous, maybe a 3.3. And I considered changing my major to pharmacy, nursing, PA, all of this stuff. And my counselor at the end of my sophomore year was like, you still got to take all the same classes, so it doesn't change anything. You might as well be a doctor. I know they've changed the Mcat a lot, so don't be intimidated by that. Just stay your focus, because I mean, by the time I got into med school, I was 25, and that was good for me. So my class at Cincinnati, we had 18-year-olds and we had 50-year-olds. We had artists, we had pianists, we had opera singers, and we had the strict scientist track. But just and find a team to support you besides your family. Hopefully you can find a mentor or mentee or a group of classmates to study with, to relax with, to party with. You have to maintain your sanity. If your form of partying is social service, then you just have to find a way. And hopefully you guys are getting it in undergrad, because WMed in Kalamazoo and the whole world is trying to, the wellness and taking care of yourself and self-care. Hopefully you guys are getting that in your education, but I also think everyone's talking about it. You can't be on TV or your app or your phone or LinkedIn or Facebook without some new app about self-care. So, and if it's church, if it's your sorority, if it's your fraternity, you have to find something to keep yourself grounded, and don't give up. I've wanted to be a doctor. I always told people since 5, and my mom said it was long before that. So I took a different route than others, because I had to do an extra 5th year, and I took a year studying for the Mcat or whatever, but there's always a way. So don't give up. That's the most important thing. And surround yourself with positive people. No naysayers. Let the naysayers form their own group.
I actually agree with what Dr. Robinson said. 2 things is not to give up. And second, I think, is finding mentors and actually doing things like this. I think the more that you can get exposed and the more that you learn from others that, have been there and ask questions, I think asking questions is helpful. I also think that if there are opportunities for you to do things that, to discover more about careers and discover more about really what your interests are. I did a lot of summer programs, every summer, as a matter of fact. I just started thinking about it in undergrad. So every summer there was some summer program I did for interest in medicine or pre-med somewhere, Columbia, New Jersey Med, different places. And I think I gained from all of those, meeting people, meeting other students from other universities that became friends, and also getting mentors and people that actually gave me advice along the way, because it is hard. And it's challenging, and you do need that encouragement to continue on.
Dr. Rashid Cabrero, do you have anything to say? You raised your hand.
Yeah. It's just
Awesome.
I wanted to share something too.
Yeah, go for it.
So I agree with what everybody has said so far, Dr. Robinson, Dr. Dixon. it's very important because I didn't have one in college, so I struggled a lot. I did a lot of trial and error. But finding mentors, it's difficult, but you have to try the best effort to find them within your departments, or other kind of places where you can find them is actually through like organizations on campus, like the ones you're participating now, because it's a good opportunity to network. So, when I was in college, there wasn't enough emphasis on network, and network is so essential, to find mentors, but also to find like opportunities to grow your skills, other skills like leadership skills, community organizing skills, advocacy skills. These are all things that you're going to need. You need to put in practice when you're on your road to becoming a physician. So a lot of these, what they call soft skills, are not soft skills. They're essential skills, for you to be able to advocate for your patients and to practice good medicine. So mentorship, having a network, making sure that you take care of yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. If there's like mental illness, that you're dealing with as an undergrad, this is the time to take care of it, because it will get, if you don't take care of it now, it's going to get much, much worse in medical school, residency, and as you go on. So having a counselor, a mental health counselor, if you need to, even if it's for prevention, or if you feel like, you're feeling overwhelmed, this is very, very important. I wanted to emphasize that.
I have such a, I guess, a realization, sort of the advice I wish back to your question of what advice I would have for myself in undergrad. I always tell my undergrad students that I teach that, honestly, like looking back at, I did, after college, I did 4 years of medical school, 4 years of residency, 2 years of fellowship, and then got my first job. And each time period had its own challenges, but honestly, looking back, the hardest part of it all was where you guys are at right now in undergrad. Because I remember in undergrad, just the incredible amount of stress and pressure, and you're taking so many classes, and a lot of them are in different different areas. You have a lot more classes, and then you have that pressure of getting really good grades and having that sort of constant doubt. Do I have what it takes to make it? And looking to your right and left and seeing all these really talented, bright people getting intimidated. And I spent my entire life thinking everybody else was smarter than me, and better at what they were doing. And I was always insecure about my abilities. Like, could I get into medical school? And then once I got into medical school, do I have what it takes? And I had really great advice from my father-in-law when I started medical school. He said, listen, there's going to be a lot of people around you that are pretty talented and gifted. And he said, don't look to your right or left. He's like, what you need to do is focus on doing the best that you can. And bringing your best to the table and running your own race. Like, don't compare yourself to other people. And I think that's such a struggle for us in life, but particularly in the pre-med culture, we compare ourselves. And I think it's really important for you guys all to remember that each one of you has your own set of special gifts and talents and strengths. And there's nobody like you on this planet. There's nobody like you with all of your talents and life experience. And you take those two together, you have so much to offer this world in your own unique way. And so never compare yourself. And we all have strengths. We all have weaknesses. We all have insecurities. And we all tend to look at other people and think, we compare our biggest weakness often with other people's greatest strength. And that's stupid. It's very stupid. We all do it, but it's stupid. And it robs us of joy. It robs us of peace and purpose. And I think that's really important, just to kind of have that self-acceptance and try as much as you can to just be the best that you can be, and maximize your strengths. There's so much more I could say, but I'm going to stop talking.
Okay. Anyone else have any last comments for that question? I think that did get a lot of response. Thank you all for saying those kind words. I know another issue kind of pinging off of that is a lot of people struggle thinking about a work-life balance that comes from this career and how to manage being your own person, whether it's with a family or friends, socially, with also your job, which takes up, I'm sure, a lot of your time. How do you kind of approach that balance? And is it as rough as we see on like TV shows and stuff like that? I know like that gives a false image as well.
I will start, and I will say it ebbs and flows. And probably the biggest thing you need to tell yourself is, I need to give myself grace, right? Now, don't use that as an excuse to like slack off and not do anything for like a couple of weeks. But I think, you know, we, just like Dr. Rose said, we are our worst critic. And so it's so easy for us to get in our minds when we fail at accomplishing everything that we want to do in a week or in a day or in a month. But I would say what you want to do is, this is kind of the natural process of what it's like to even do research at the medical school level or beyond, right? Is you create your plan, figure out what that plan is going to be, do it, see if it actually worked or not, and then figure out how you want to refine it, recognizing that there are going to be good days, there are going to be bad days, great weeks, bad weeks, and you just have to say, okay, how can I learn from this, whether it was a good or bad experience, and how can I move forward with that? And I think the other thing to recognize is it's going to ebb and flow a lot too, right? During exam weeks, or as you're preparing for those big exams or applications or whatever, you're going to be busy. So part of that is also recognizing that you need to set those boundaries. So do what you need to do to stay well. And if that means connecting with people, you connect with people. But maybe it's not going to be like a 2-hour connect. It might be more like a 20-minute or 1-hour connect on those busier like cycles. And then when you have a little more time, that's when you can also let those other aspects that you had to kind of put on pause for a little bit come back into the picture.
And I would like to add, especially for women, this is extremely important. You have to really be, and I hate to say selfish, because it's not being selfish, it's recognizing who you are and taking care of what you need to do in order to get your MD degree or to get into medical school, because that's priority number one. But it is really, really important to be able to set limits and to say no. You can't be the caregiver for everyone. You can't attend every birthday party. You can't do everything that you've done in the past. You have to recognize what is important. And sometimes you can go for a minute or two, or, just show up or just say, I'm sorry, I can't even do that. But I'm here. I love you. I support you, but I cannot be physically present with you right now. But I also wanted to say, part of work-life balance is what I would have said earlier for the previous question, and that is making sure to ask questions. You ask questions, ask everyone, how did you do it? How did you do it? What did you do? What did you do? And take what you can, take what works for you, and the rest, dump it. You can't be everybody. You have to make your own little niche in life. And so you ask lots of questions. Do not be afraid to ask questions. Do not be afraid to try different things out. Throw them away if they don't work for you. But most important of all is ask for help. Do not be embarrassed to ask for help. Do not think that you are less than or you don't know because you have to ask questions or ask for help, because that's who wins the prize in the end, is those who are willing to say, I want to better myself, and so I will go out on a limb and ask for questions and get no. You can get 2,000 no's, but you just need one yes. But if you're not failing, then you're not pushing yourself. So do not consider failure. Do not consider no a failure. Consider no or something that did not go the way you planned it, a way for you to get to your best self.
You guys start like a self-help book. These are very good quotes.
Yeah, I just want to add too that boundaries are huge, and aligning yourself with people that you get along with or have similar personalities who are in the medical profession and see how they're doing their work-life balance. see how they do it. Just ask questions. And like Dr. Simmons said, don't be afraid to, to say no, and don't be afraid to just stand your ground. But it's really important to kind of model yourself sometimes. I mean, after those that you really hold in high esteem, and you see how they're doing it, and ask them questions. Ask questions. I can't emphasize enough. Never be afraid to ask how you did it. An organization, like Stephanie was saying, you have to organize yourself. And I know that's a challenge, but balance it. At the end of the day, sometimes you just have to be selfish and say, okay, I got to look out for myself. But then don't be afraid to do that. So that's all I want to add.
I think communication is really important, and kind of having conversations and carving out space to sort of, how to say this, sort of like your kids and your spouse's perception, and make sure that you guys are on the same page. I grew up, my dad's a cardiologist, and he's such an old time. He's in his late 70s and still works like 70 hours a week. He is, and that was after cutting back. I never saw him growing up. I don't have, I love my dad, but we're not very close. He was never around. And I saw that, and I was like, I love medicine. I love the idea of medicine, but I don't want that lifestyle. I knew I wanted to be a mom, and I wanted to have a relationship with my kids, and I wanted all that. And my dad actually comes to visit now, and he's like, it's nice being an emergency physician because there's inherent boundaries in the ED. It's like crazy when you're there, but when you're off, you're off. And my dad comes to visit, and he's like, what is this? He's like, you work like half the days of the month, and you've got a relationship with your kids. Like, you're not a real doctor. Like, he kind of gives me grief about it. But it's really nice. And I have a spouse. My husband is, we've been married 20 years. He's a much better person than I am. And that's an important key too. But he has been so supportive, and he's been really, sort of navigating career and family and the balance. He's always, especially when my girls were younger, my twins are 9, my little one's 7 right now. But when they were little, he would sort of do mommy ganda. Basically, he would, if I wasn't home at night and he was tucking the girls in and they're like, where's mommy? He would just sit there and kind of explain, mommy loves you guys. She'd rather be with you than anything. But she worked really hard to become a doctor. And what she's doing, she's helping people and she's saving people's lives. And man, she wishes she could be here, but she worked really hard for this. And we are going to, rally team family. And what we're going to do as a team family to support mommy is we're going to make sure the dishes are done. We're going to clean the house, and we're going to go to bed on time so we can do, something. And anytime like I've had to travel, that's been sort of part of it. We've had something to look forward to, something that we were going to do, even if it was something small, like I'm going to bake cookies with you this day, when I get home. I think sort of that perception of their time when you're away, like sort of directing the narrative is really important for maintaining that relationship. And it's been, I feel like I'm lucky. I get to spend a lot of time with my kids, probably more than most physicians. But it really, I feel like we're so much more bonded because of my husband's amazing support in that way.
Awesome.
I just wanted to say something too, because I kept thinking about your question, what I wish I could have done differently. So one of the things I think I want, I wish is that I didn't give up some of the things that are also part of me. I think that there are things that you do, like either you're an artist or you play the piano or violin or you sing or something. And I played the piano and I also sewed a lot and I gave it up. And so it's harder to go back to it because I said, I've got to focus just on being a doctor and doing the classes and all of that. But that's your balance, because you are a medical student or you are an undergrad, but that is not defining who you are. Because who you are is either the mom, the sister, the aunt, all those other things that make who you are. And that other part of you is that piece that also has to be nurtured. And if you're not nurturing that and continuing to nurture that, that's going to be something that you'll regret. I regret it because now I'm going to take piano lessons again because got to start from square one. But I don't want you, I think it's important for you to know that you hold on to that, hold on to that part of you, because that helps you in your balance. because you can always go and play the piano. I'll keep saying piano. You can always do whatever it is, that dance, you know, I love dance too. Dance, you can do your dance or something, and you make time for that. That gives you the energy to then go back and study, you know, go back and then do the reading. So I think that was one of the things I wanted to say. And as I'm listening to everyone, I think that's what helps you also with your balance. And I think that if you do that, the other part is, what I tell students now, medical students, is that, because again, the volume of work you get just gets, you know, exponential in medical school, but it's really that is, I don't think it's that much harder. I just think it's so much more. And it's like this scaffolding. You have to like learn what's here to get to learn, you know, you can't not learn it. But I think that if you make schedules, I'm a schedule person. I'll tell you that. So I actually have to have I have to look at what my schedule is. And so I know that on Saturday and Sunday or whatever time, it's my free time because I've gotten through some of the things that I needed to get through. And I think if you kind of begin to find out some kinds of things that help you get organized, then you don't feel guilty, because you can feel guilty like going to the movies or doing whatever because I didn't study. But you won't feel guilty if you have a plan. So I think developing that plan that works for you early on is also helpful.
I think that happens in undergrad too. Like when I hang out with my friends, I'll feel bad because I'm not studying. So it even starts now. So it's definitely a good point to bring up. I think that was
Also, Dr. Zia should give a presentation on how to create a plan, because Dr. Zia is probably the most organized, color-coordinated person I ever met in my life. So she should come back.
She has 60 different highlighter colors.
I would blend very well. I have 3 agendas, a whiteboard. Yeah, I have all that. Don't worry. I have all my color-coded pens. It keeps me sane. I don't know how people can just do pencil. So I'm going to open the floor to you guys, members. Does anyone have any specific questions? You can type them in the chat, pop on video, talk, raise your hand. We'd love to hear from you. Okay. So we have a question in the chat. What is everyone's take on MD versus DO?
I don't always want to be first, but so my experience, when I was young applying to med school, you hear allopathic, osteopathic. I didn't think anything about it. I needed to get into school. It wasn't until I got to Borges where there were almost an equal number of allopathic and osteopathic doctors, or the most osteopathic I've ever seen. A lot of them went to state, but I want to say 3 of the 10 of us, or 4 of the 10 of us were DOs. And besides learning at another school and taking another board exam, they did everything that I did. And they could manipulate my back or my spine or my headache when I had, when I was having severe back pain. They could help me in ways that I didn't learn how to help. So that was my true first experience. So in my own specialty, I did not notice a difference. And when I had to consult a general surgeon or a brain surgeon or an orthopedist for my patients or see them for my family, I did not see a difference in the level of care.
I agree. I think level of care that you're going to provide and the training that you get is it's going to be the same, but I think the training and maybe the philosophy is a little bit different, just like Dr. Robinson said, in terms of really being able to be masterful with your manipulation skills with OMM, and how you bring that aspect into your practice. Because I want to say that at least with my own training, I don't think I had a very good sense of our MSK exam, right? The musculoskeletal exam. I think that's really where my DO colleagues have shined. I think kind of if you fast forward a little bit too, the question is a little bit more regional in terms of if you're starting to think about, okay, number one, I want to be a physician, you go whatever route makes sense and is the best for you and the type of candidate you are, whether it's going to be MD or DO or other. I think the other thing you do have to consider is that now, actually starting last year, all of the residency programs, so the training that you get after you graduate from medical school, they've kind of all been pulled together into one huge pile, or a huge resource. It used to be there was a separate match or separate process for the DO students, and then a separate process for the MD students. So I think the barriers are being broken down, which is great. I will say that there are still some barriers though, especially for some of our DO candidates, because there are going to be some traditional programs that really are going to be, I don't know why, a little more selective in preferring to take more MD candidates for interviews compared to DOs, even though when it's all said and done at the end, you're going to be a great physician. So I think that's just kind of strategically what you would want to think about 4 years in advance after you get into med school.
And then just to follow up with that, are any of our panelists today DO students that did complete the DO program? Okay. I just wanted to throw that out there. Any other questions that we have today? Don't be shy.
I just have a general question about how you deal with failure and not doing as well as you thought you did, even though you feel like you put in the amount of effort that you should have.
I think someone said it earlier. It's actually, hopefully before you fail, you've actually asked for help. I think that's part of the, sometimes it's like, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it, I should be able to do it. And you don't want to, we call it sometimes also imposter syndrome, or, you're afraid that you're not like everyone else and you can't, somebody's gonna know. And so you don't ask for help soon enough. So that's one bit of advice that I still tell undergrads as well as med students: do it early. Ask early. And actually, I'm going to tell you, as an undergrad, when you go, because I'm going to tell you my experience, one of my hardest courses in Brown was genetics. Really hard professor at that time. But I thought he was super mean and all, whatever. I was I'm not doing that well, but I went to see him. And he turned out to be one of my best advocates to date, because he knew me. He started knowing my name. He wanted to help me. He sat down and spent time with me. And it was eye-opening experience for me. So I think that I would just tell you, you get letters, you need letters, and going to the office and asking questions, asking the TAs. Even when it's minor questions, do it. Because you're in a class of 100 or whatever in those big lecture halls, they won't know you. But they'll know you if you actually do that. And they'll say that in letters. So I've read the letters, So I think that's the piece of advice I would give you. And if you do all those things and you still don't do well, the world is not coming to an end. I can't tell you the students I've counseled who have in their first year taken some of the pre-med sciences and not done as well, and then said, I can't be a doctor. It makes me sad, because I'm looking at them now, they're finishing college and going to something else, and I wish I knew you before. Because it's not the end of the world. It doesn't mean that you're not gonna, take it again. Take it in the summer, take it in another, whatever, that chemistry or that physics, that physics was my nemesis too. I'll say it, I still shudder. Physics. But I think that you have to actually give yourself a break. If you've done all that you can do, all those things I'm telling you to do, asking ahead of time, all that, and you still have a problem with it, there's no shame. There's no shame in saying, okay, well, I need to take it again. Do not let it be a career buster, is my point. Don't make it change your dream. Because you have a dream, you hold on to that.
Yeah, I would just want to add, really, do not be a recluse when something goes wrong. The earlier, the better. And the more support systems you have in place, the better. Because we all have failures, and a failure can turn out to be a big success. I mean, I've had them, and one of the reasons why I got a postdoc in clinical pharmacology, because I had difficulties in pharmacology, and I turned out to wind up doing a postdoc in it at UCLA, and I just turned it around. But you do have to take an inner look, but the support that you get is really important. Surround yourself around those who will give you that rah-rah, shish-kumbang kind of thing to you and motivate you. And stay away from haters. And go to those professors like Dr. Dickerson said, and know them, get them to know you. And the more you reach out, you'd be surprised how much people are willing to help you.
And I said that starting out, like, you know, I admitted I got a D in organic chemistry. I just told my family, literally, college graduation day, I'm in my cap and gown. I'm sneaking down to the basement of the physics building to make sure I pass, because everyone's flown in for my college graduation. So the point is, like Cheryl said, and Dr. Rodney, don't give up. Surround yourself with positive people. Like I said, I took 5 years. And then I did a word processing nighttime job and studied for the Mcat for a year or two. I even took the Mcat a second time, and I haven't told many people this. I think I had my only little panic attack the first time I took the Mcat. I started feeling all kind of funny over here, and you know, you've learned about all this stuff, so it's like, oh my God, am I having a stroke? Am I having a heart attack? But you have to find a way to take your failure and not internalize it. You have to put it out there. And someone's going to say, oh my God, I did that 10 times and I finally learned this. Or Cheryl's going to tell you, girl, it's okay. Or Emily's going to tell you, sister, brother, it's okay. We've all been through it. I mean, you know, some people fly through life with straight A's and 4.9s and they get everything right the first time. But 99% of people probably don't. So, and if you ask, other people have knocked their heads and may keep you from having to knock it as many times. And the most important thing is you can't internalize it. You can't beat yourself down about it. So if it's your mama, your sister, your sorority person, your church member, some new person on Zoom you met because of COVID, you've got to find someone to support you. You have to find a support. And it doesn't necessarily have to be someone in medicine, but like Dr. Rodney said, the people walking in these shoes that we live every day know why I look like this at 8:30 at night in a hotel room. So it is easier, but as you're in med school, you know, I had non-medical friends and medical friends, and you just have to find a group of positive people. And I remember a couple of years ago, my cousin-in-laws were so mad because their kids weren't passing their pre-med classes. I'm like, whoa, stop the music. I had to take organic chemistry twice. I got a D. I had to do a 5th year in college, and they all looked at me like, oh. I'm like, yes, it's okay. So both those girls are fine. Both of them are in med school across the country, but you just gotta take it in stride and learn and find your team. Your team could be one Cheryl or one Rodney. You only need one positive person if they're your best cheerleader, but a bunch of negative people, you don't want it. And also, one thing I learned is you have to find people that study like you, because every day, every time we had an exam in med school, everyone would be sitting outside the exam classroom cramming. And I do not study that way. That I didn't even bring books. And so if you have a study partner that studies that way and it makes you anxious, it's not going to work. So you have to find someone that floats and studies like you. Or when I was studying for board exams, I had a classmate who studied quietly, and we just studied in each other's space, but we didn't interact because we are quiet studiers and we needed peace. We didn't need group. So you have to find your way to, you know, maintain your sanity, maintain your self-care, find a good study group, and learn from your failures without beating you up. I'm done.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions for today?
I have a really quick question.
Go for it.
This is more about like when you're practicing, how do you handle stubborn patients or patients that are just a little bit more difficult? Like how, I don't know if maybe it was like a first experience you had and you had to really learn how to deal with it, or if you like still work on it, just kind of, there you go, there's my question.
So I think
Put
first
all
of
my
all,
patients to sleep. So. Oh, go on. No, I was gonna say all my patients go to sleep, so I have to worry about them being stubborn or not. I'm just playing. Go on.
Oh my goodness.
oh, that's funny. Actually, what I was going to say is that one of the very first things to learn is really you have to put yourself in the shoes of the patient. That's what I tell all my students. I've had, because I did emergency, I did peds emergency for a while too, and in Newark. And there are a lot of people that are frustrated and mad and angry, and a lot of bad stuff has happened to them, you know, before they get to you. They may have gone to 3 different doctors or ERs and haven't had their answers, you know, questions answered. Are their child still sick? Or they can't afford the medication? Or, you know, that, you know, here it is midnight, they don't have a doctor. And so they have to come to the ER because they don't have a doctor they can call on the phone. So one of the things you always have to do is, I have a mantra, and my mantra, share this, is that it's not about me. I always say that because I've been yelled at, cursed at, you know, and you just have to, we teach students how to, what we call listen effectively, reflective listening. There's different ways of listening. And one of it is to just know when to be quiet. And then actually, we're human, we do have responses, but you have to take yourself out the picture. And it's hard, it takes practice, but you have to take yourself out the picture because you are there to serve, basically. And that's, you know, if you keep that in mind and just say that my mantra, if you can share it if you want, it could be yours. It's not about me, because it isn't in medicine. It's really about them. And there's something that's happened. And most of the time, even when I've been like, laid out. I've been laid out, and students have been like backing up, like, oh God, they're standing with me, particularly in the ER. And they're like, oh my God, how, you know, and then it's like, I let that person, I go, you know what? I know that you're pretty angry and your child is sick, but you know what? I want to help you. I want to help you. So let's just go in a room and let me know. You can, you know, let me know, but I really want to help you. And so you just have to listen. And basically listen, and after a while, I have not had that patient not turn around. It works, because then, you know, it's really what kinds of things, and particularly in our population, you know, there are a lot of disparities. And that's one of the things that's, you know, my area of interest is reduction, and all of us is disparities and differences in the way people have been treated. It's real. People have been treated differently. They've actually had historical different treatments that have impacted their health now and what we see, and continue to be treated differently because by us and by the system. So they're quite frustrated, and it's our job to actually try to make a difference. So that's my advice.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. This is Franklin Rocha. It's very important for you guys to listen to the patient, listen what their main complaint is, and also make sure they gain their trust. So the way you gain their trust is by being an active listener, by making sure that they feel that they're heard, that somebody's actually cares about them, and it's not just going through the motions. And, you know, social determinants of health, it's so important, like, for you to know about that. Like, what are these issues that are going around their neighborhood, their healthcare access, their transportation, you know, all of that impacts their ability to get good care, their race, their ethnicity, like all of those impact healthcare. And you, as a compassionate, empathetic future physician, you need to be able to effectively, even if you get a stubborn patient or an angry patient, effectively diffuse that frustration, that anger, and gain their trust. Because if you gain their trust, they're more likely to open to you, they're more likely to provide more important details about their history, their medical history, their social history, which will ultimately lead you to find or at least have a hypothesize the problem, the underlying problem behind their medical or psychosocial situation. And that means that you can actually make a huge impact in their life. And, you know, I've had some patients who have said, I've jumped to 2-3 different doctors, and they tell me, like, nobody has actually sat down and listened to me as you have. and then I tell them, well, would you like to see me, in the future? And they're like, yes, I only want to see you as future provider, and when are you going to be available next? And then, so that's very gratifying and satisfying when you're able to get a patient who has been forgotten really by society and by the system, and get them back kind of on track and empower them to take care of their health and take care of the health of their family members. And so it's very important to be patient and act and do whatever you can to get the patient to trust you so that you can heal them.
All right, I think we have time for one more question. Does anyone have a last question for today? It's okay if we don't have any more questions.
I have a question. I have a question for the group.
Donovan.
How important is research as the part of the application process to get into medical school?
Well, I sat on the WMed admission committee. I loved interviewing the med students. It's one of the favorite things I think I've done in my career. And we're so, in fact, 20 years ago, we were supposed to go straight from undergrad to med school to residency, no break, no life. These kids are doing Habitat for Humanity. They are pianists. They are, I can't even list, Cheryl, the things that these kids are bringing to their applications. And there were some that had published literature. But I would say nowadays, Cheryl, wouldn't you say that, they may be being a scribe, they're working in a doctor's office, but I saw less research than just life experience. These kids were traveling the world, volunteering in remote areas. And after I interviewed these kids, the guys 20 years older than me, we would just look at each other and be like, we never would have got in if this was our competition, because you're bringing so much more to the table than just bench research or research. Just like I said no to genetics, I did not like research. So I have found in my 3 or 4 years at WMed that very few they have it, but I didn't feel like it was a prerequisite. And Cheryl's agreeing.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't do research for research's sake. Do it only because you have a passion for it.
Right.
If that's something, when we talked about your passion, if that's something that you have an interest in, because part of going into this is being a scientist, the curiosity. And if that's something that you find in one of your courses and whatever, and you have a passion for it, then do it. But don't do it because you think you have to do it, because you're gonna hate it. It's really not something, it's like a chore. It's like something I'm doing this so I can get, and it's gonna show. Instead, spend your energy on the things that, Dawn was just saying, Dr. Dawn was just saying, is that you need to spend your energy on the things you do have passion for. Because I still do, interviewing for the med school, and actually that's what I look for. I look for the students' eyes to light up, even in this kind of video virtual world. So I light up when they're talking to me about something that they did, when they did global health, or they did something in their community to actually help with translation services or interpreter services and patients, helping patients get registered for resources and stuff like that. They light up on those kind of things. That's what I'm looking for. I'm really looking for that your service and something you did outside of just studying that showed you cared about people and you know what it takes to actually and be able to balance that. Because the other part is a holistic review, because we do a holistic application review now, thank goodness, and almost all medical schools do that. And that actually takes into account looking at all the things that you've done. I had to work when I was in undergrad because I had some scholarship, but my parents didn't have money, so I always had a job. So part of that was, I had 20 hours or so of work every week I was doing as part of also studying and everything else. And so that holistic review takes those it didn't then, but because they were looking at my grades and stuff like that, but now it does, thank God. So they take into account all the things that are on your plate. All those things you were doing, and you were still able to do these things, and you were still able, and your passion. So that passion is what you have to do. If it's research, that's fine, but we aren't necessarily looking for research. We're looking for your passion and your gifts to others.
I agree, and I just wanted to add one little quick point to that. The admissions committee knows if you're doing something just to put it as a check mark. We look at the hours, we look at the products, the end products, and we look at your passion. We look to see if it is carried throughout your whole application, so we can see what your intent is, as much as, because it has to be corroborated by your letters of recommendation and things like that. So don't do it just to have it a check, because you're wasting your time and you're wasting everybody else's time too. So don't do it. And also look at the medical schools that you are interested in. Different schools value different things. And that is very important, because look, the medical schools want you as much as you want them. That's what I tell my students all the time. So you need to put your best foot forward and then let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Just look at the schools, and again, they can smell a phony if you're just trying to load up stuff on your app just for the sake of loading up. Because I've sat on admissions committees too. So very good point, Dr. Simmons.
Well, I would really appreciate if everyone's comfortable just putting their contact information in the chat. So if students do want to maybe follow up on a specific position that connected well with them, that would be greatly appreciated, and I will communicate that out with everybody. If there's no other last minute questions, this was really beneficial. I'm really grateful that everyone was able to join us today and tune in. I think it was a really interesting panel, lots of different input and background specialties. So I really appreciate everyone coming out here today, and Donovan for helping me out, rallying everybody in. He's a great resource. So please talk to him on Fridays. I cannot express. It's a great resource, and we're putting it out right in front of you guys. You just got to take advantage of it, like we were saying. So please, please, please take those resources that we're giving you. We're trying to give you all the tools you can. You just got to put them in your own toolbox. So what I'm going to do is all of this information will be sent out in our follow-up email, and all of the chats I will save as well. So all the contact information, if you're struggling to write it down really fast, don't worry, I got it for you guys as well. So it was great seeing everybody. See you guys all next Tuesday after this one. So in 2 weeks, that's how you say that correctly. But it was really great seeing everyone, and I'll have the recording up soon. So have a great evening.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night, and hopefully I get to meet with some students on Friday. So thank you guys.